room, possibly with his daughter Hannah in the background. We've now got Mr. Steve Lillis on Skype. Stevie, are you there?
How are you, Bunce? I've just got rid of the guys with all their wires. They've been here all day. Their satellites getting this ready.
Well, setting up their satellite trucks outside your house.
I tell you, Ashton-under-Lyne, they had police round here. The whole road shut off today, Bunce, for these satellite trucks.
Stevie, we've just been talking about the Americans. Before I move on and talk about Liverpool, I'm sure you've seen the results. You've watched the fights. Obviously it's late nights after big fights. Barry was talking about Sean Porter. We all seem to think that was a bit of a shock. But anything else shock you or impress you from the night at the Barclays Centre?
Malignaggi's performance, Steve. I mean, you can say that Zab Judah never pulled the trigger on the night, but Malignaggi, I thought, really performed well. And you know what, with Paulie, Steve, if someone had said to you where he'd be in his career now, after that bad stoppage to Amir Khan,
bingo,
you wouldn't have had a penny of it. After that, Malignaggi and his connections paid $75,000 to Lou DiBella to get out the contract. That's the best $75,000 ever spent in boxing, looking at the money he's earned since then.
Yeah. And of course he got, I mean, it's no secret that last year he was over here dining with you, personally visiting with you and your family when he was over here to see Ricky, because he thought if Ricky does Senchenko, everyone knows this, it's no great secret, Ricky and him were going to have a rematch, probably at the Barclays Centre, and everyone was going to make an awful lot of money. He was pig sicker. He was as sick after that fight as Ricky was.
That's right. I was with him at his hotel the next day, and he was so quiet. He was talking about, that was his retirement fight. That was the pension fund to see him through forever. And he did say then that he wanted this year, 2013, to be his last year in boxing, but I don't think it's going to be, Steve.
Steve, let me ask you, your expert opinion. Where do you think he ends up next fight? He's not going to have another treading water fight. What champion do you think he gets thrown in with? Where's the best money for Paulie Malignaggi in 2014?
You know what? What about, I think, Kell Brook's going to have something, but, the fight I think they'd like to make maybe could be him and Sean Porter.
Yes, why not?
But I think, obviously, Kell Brook's mandatory is due, so I don't think they're going to do that. It could even be another treading water fight for him, Steve, until they get him there. You know what I think would be a great fight? I don't think he could do the weight anymore. Will be him and Danny Garcia. That would be a real fun fight. Imagine the trash there between Malignaggi and Danny's dad.
Yeah. Angel and Malignaggi, that would work. Jimmy, let's talk about Liverpool. Tell me, what's your highlight from up there?
You know what? Paul Butler was absolutely off the radar, fantastic. But Liam Smith's performance, showed me so much. He was spiteful, nasty. He was smiling. He enjoyed. It seemed as if he knew he was going to win by a stoppage inside the first 30 seconds. And very quickly, he made Mark Thompson look almost a nervous shell.
Yeah. Steve-O, stay there. Georgie, I saw you nodding your head there. Did Liam impress you on the night as well?
Liam's a great fighter, man. I've always said it. I like his shot selection's unbelievable. The way he puts them together. He is like a Mexican fighter, isn't
he? He is. And the other thing with him, Jim, is that obviously he's committed and he trains, but boxing doesn't seem to be his first love. He talks about when he was an amateur, not wanting to train unless he was fighting. Unless he was definitely fighting, he'd go and play football. Football's his love, and so he'd only get in the gym when he had a fight coming up. Imagine if he was absolutely in love with a game.
I think it's in the family blood as well.
Yeah, that's the truth.
It's absolutely through all of them. So I'm sure that when one wants to have a after run, you're boxing and all motivating one another to push on. I'm sure it's like a great team spirit in the family itself.
Now, Steve Lillis mentioned there from his living room up in Ashton-under-Lyne, he mentioned there that Paul Butler had a fantastic 12-rounder. That's the second 12-rounder on the spin. So 24 rounds he's had against international opponents in the last 3 or 4 months. Now, that's priceless stuff, as you know, because that's what James has had.
Great
from Groves on, James has had those 12 rounds. You can't buy them, Jim.
No, listen, as you're going through I was looking at my own career today, and I think I had my first 12 round in about my 16th fight. Yeah. I think James has now had about 8 or 9 12 rounders.
Ouch.
Which is
fantastic.
Absolutely phenomenal. So he's ready for this stage now. All the treading water's over.
Yeah.
But he's schooled. He's boxed he's boxed styles. He's been in with undefeated fight. And
that's what's happening here with little Butler. Now, Jimmy, you've been in different gyms in America, different gyms in Europe. You've been in with some good fighters. Obviously, talked about good fighters over the years. Butler's still relatively inexperienced, okay, and At Superfly, is it particularly difficult, in your opinion, to move them up to that genuine world level, to the best in the world? Is it a tough one?
Well, I remember back in the day in my own stable, we had Charlie Magri, who was phenomenal, an 8-stone fighter, you know, knock anyone out, used to punch like a welterweight. Yeah. And it's that step, like, obviously domestically and in Europe and the Commonwealth, he was just leagues above. But as Charlie would say, when you step to the next level, you had fighters out there just before Charlie, Zamora, Zarate. And these are great fighters, legends of the boxing ring. Yeah. And when you look at Butler now, to watch him, you know, it's just tremendous. It just reminds you of a Mexican type fighter. Some of the stuff he does is tremendous, quality fighter.
Yeah, Steve, are you still there, son? Stevie,
yes, mate, I'm here.
Yeah, Stevie, listen, Steve, let me ask you this. Butler, you're up there, you're around them afterwards. As I just said to the boys here, it's 2 12-round fights, so he's had a good 24 rounds against awkward guys that didn't want to get hit, then guys that were pushing him a little bit. So fantastic. What's your gut feeling for his next 6 to 12 months?
I think he'll go pretty much along the route he's going now, Stevie. What he's doing now is, people got at the last 2 fights, he's gone the distance. In those last 2 fights, Steve, he's fought different styles altogether. The Chilean guy we had at the Copper Box in September, was it Miguel Gonzalez?
Yeah.
You know, he was there, he was defensively astute, he was on the back foot all night, he made Paul think that way. The other night he had the tough Mexican who was always be in front of him all night. Yeah. He'll just keep learning against different styles on the international circuit. It's going to be hard to see him getting a British title defence in, because the people around that way. Of course, there's Jafar, but I don't think he's going to be fighting for the British title. Yes, you might see 1 or 2 Commonwealth defences, but I think for the next 12 months, Steve, he'll beat on this international path. I mean, what he needs really, I think, at the moment is a couple months rest, because I think he's had 5 fights this year.
And 2 of them big hard ones.
How the fights are. Yeah. It's been the amount of time he would have been in the gym, like we're seeing now. Yeah. Billy Joe Saunders has been non-stop for 18, 19 months.
And the rest,
and he's having a deserved rest now. They do need a rest. He's a young kid.
Yeah. All right, that's Sky Pete. I tell you what, he is, isn't he? Lillis, and he on fire. I might get him down and just have him in the other room and just get him on Skype. I'm not, because that's the way it is. Barry, I'm going to get you on Skype next week. I'm going to get you in and you can go in the other room. Barry, let's talk Enzo Macronelli. Wasn't a Commonwealth title, not because of any skullduggery, not because Courtney Fry couldn't do the weight, but there was a bit of a logistics problem. The border control, or the northern area was suggesting, central area, whatever, was suggesting he has to go here for the weigh-in, and he couldn't make it. He had to work, and he'd worked as a doorman, and they couldn't wake him. It's the usual stuff. Basically, a little bit of flexibility was needed, because he made the weight, and what it is, he ended up making £6 less, if I'm not mistaken. But so I don't know what. I hope Enzo didn't make any less. He probably did. Courtney, I think, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm wrong, correct me. I think he made £6 less. But it was a better fight than some of us expected.
That's it. Well, Courtney Fry, first of all, was excellent. That's the best I've seen. I'm not saying it's the best he boxed. That's the best I've seen him box. Good. He was really good. He brought the fight to Enzo. But then once Enzo got his groove going, Enzo put pressure on Courtney. And ironically, Enzo's left hook is his best punch. But it was the right hand that done all the damage. And by that time, I think Courtney had enough by then. Even in the corner of the round before, it could have been a case of maybe just pulling him out. But it was a really good fight. And for me, Enzo, in his last 2 fights, has looked strong at light heavy. Yeah. Whereas when he first
was grown into it. It's bizarre.
It's weird. I don't know.
He's dropped down in weight 1.5 stones, then he's grown into it. He doesn't look drawn.
He's living with the weight. I think that's what the difference is. He's looking He's looking stronger now, and he's looking. To be fair, his last 2 fights have been good performances from Enzo, and he's looked solid around the whiskers.
Yeah, which is that's part of that's confidence. Yeah. Georgie, Stevie Ormond against Derry Matthews. Stevie Ormond in Derry's backyard. Yeah. Competent kid. I like what Stevie Ormond does. I like the way he goes about his business. And I think I know Derry injured his hand, but at some point Derry thought, this guy's a bit better than I thought. What did you make of it from your ringside
seat?
He's
really like sort of small and compact, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he's got that sort of mental game as well. When the ref says break, he has a little jog in and that. And so there's probably a point, if you're tired, you probably think, God, what have I got to do to this fella to stop him? You know what I mean? 'Cause he's always after you, so he kind of wins the mental battle as well. Yeah. The way he does.
I like Stevie Ormond, and I know last week we were accused of overlooking Stephen Ormond in the build-up. Well, we didn't overlook Stephen Ormond in the build-up. We'd made a film about Derry Matthews before he was even fighting Stephen Ormond. The film was made, and then Stephen Ormond came, so it wasn't that way. And I'd make a film about Stephen Ormond. I'd get on a plane now and go over to Ireland and make a film about it. I would, no problem at all. I'm available in the morning, 7:20 flight. I'd go, no problem. I love Ireland. Honestly, you find someone in Hammersmith tonight that likes Ireland more than me, and I'll challenge them, I will. I'll take them out the back and challenge them. And I'll fight every man I have to prove it. And that's neither here nor there. Also at the weekend, Stevie, you stayed there. Also at the weekend, Darren Barker went out to Stuttgart to defend his world title. Hold on, quiet boys, we're being contacted from the other side. Anyway, so Stevie Lillis, let me ask you, Darren Barker, what do you think of it? Steve, can you hear me? He's gone, Steve's gone. Let's hear it for Stevie. Come on, lovely, Stevie's gone. Barry, you've seen, let's take you through. Jimmy, Darren Barker, what do you think?
Yeah, obviously, I know Darren well, I know Tony well. And for me, I've watched him go from the greatest night of his life and his career as a boxer to probably, in Darren's mind, probably the worst. But, I mean, got caught with some shots early, but I know that there was an injury problem in there, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think it could be like, that could be Darren's last contest.
That's what they say. And what did you, when you were watching it, George, did you think that maybe, were you a bit shocked that he was taking it to Sturm so quickly, so early?
If I'm honest, I haven't seen the fight, Steve.
Okay, that's what you told me.
The outcome is so sad now because, you know, Darren's been, like, it's well documented that he's been through some tough times in his career. And, you know, it was so nice to see him be a world champion, but, you know, it's just like, it's so gutting.
Well, we wait to see how serious it was, Barry. It was clearly, you know, it was the shot and a hip and the imbalance.
Yeah,
it was tragic.
First of all, Sturm started really fast. He had to, because he hadn't in his last few fights.
Yeah, true. Good point.
But Darren Barker, he obviously had a problem with his hip. And because he had a problem with his hip, he had bad balance. When you've got no balance, you can't have a solid base. And without a solid base, you can't take it. You can't absorb a shot. Correct. And I think that's where he went over probably easier than he would have. And I think his trainer was right to throw the towel in. You know, when he did.
Tony knew because
he's a friend more than his trainer.
And he was touching the hip when he was on the floor.
I think 100% Darren Barker. I think that would have been a good defence for Darren. I really believe.
Let's see if he gets back to 100%.
He definitely would have got the W.
If not, Macklin's going to move in there, or Andy Lee.
So everyone's going to compare him, aren't they?
Of course, that's what they're looking to do. Now, this weekend, we're in Germany. Jürgen Bremer fighting for the WBA World Light Heavyweight title. 7 o'clock, we're on there. I'll be in this studio with Stevie Skypey Lillis against Marcus Oliveira. Oliveira, part of some Indian tribe. I've got plenty of information on him. It's plenty entertaining. Also on the bill is Jack Jack Culcay. We've seen him a couple of times here on Box Nation, and he didn't impress once, then he impressed a little bit more. Well, a little Dickie Bird told me, a little Twitter Dickie Bird told me that Gary Logan, old friend of mine, Croydon, and then off to Repton, I was told that he was out there training with him. So I spoke to Gary a little bit earlier, and the first question I asked him was, Gary, what are you doing now?
I'm working with a good fighter called Jack Culcay, who's the WBA Intercontinental Light Middleweight Champion, and he's former world amateur gold medalist in 2009, so he's got a bit of pedigree, and I'm just been asked to come in and work with him for this fight, and then hopefully we're working on future fights as well. He's fighting on Saturday in Berlin.
Gary, how did you get the gig? I mean, I know that you're, an international traveller, especially when you work with the Haymaker team, but how have you ended up in Jack Culcay's camp?
Well, I've known Jack's manager, Mo Clatton, for about last, say, 15 years. I used to actually train Mo back in the day when I worked at Third Space. So Mo rang up an associate of mine, asked if I was around to help train, and then I said, yeah, it's something I'd be interested in. I've always wanted to work in Europe. I just wanted to add another string to my bow, as it were, and I knew that Jack's a good fighter. I remember him when he won the World Amateur Gold Medal, so I knew he had pretty good pedigree, and I knew he'd been progressing quite well. And it was something that interested me, so I thought, you know what, why not take it?
Serious amateur pedigree. I mean, he lost in the Olympics in Beijing, if I'm not mistaken. He lost to Demetrius Andrade, or something ridiculous like that. No, that was at the Worlds in 2007, he lost to Andrade.
Yeah,
he got a silver at the Europeans in Liverpool. But, Gary, as a pro, it's kind of plateaued out. It's kind of gone a bit static. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's no other reason than that is why I've been actually called in.
Good.
He's got to start stepping up. I'm a great believer in that when you have that amateur pedigree, it's already giving you like a foot up when you go pro. So you've got to unfortunately, you've got to box to that standard all the time and keep improving. So obviously, there's a few fights that I've watched of Jack where, as you said, that's the correct word. He's plateaued, and that's why I've been brought in to sort of like open his eyes up to what he needs to do to get to the next level, you know?
And when we had him here on Box Nation losing to Pitto earlier this year, he reversed it comfortably. He was a different fighter in the rematch, I'll give you that. But, it is time. And also, both you and I know how Kalle Sauerland and Nissa Sauerland and Wilfred work. If they see a fighter on that improvement chart, they match him properly, and he goes, he goes higher.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and that's what they want to do. They want to do in 3 to 4 fights' time. That's really what they want him to be. They want him to be well placed in the European rankings, if not the world rankings, and to be moving up and to fighting good fighters, in good fights. They're not scared.
Now, I know Jack was born in Ecuador, and I know that he's been in Germany for a long time, so I'm assuming he speaks decent German. Now, I know you're an international traveller, Gary Logan, but what language are we talking in the gym?
In the gym, we are talking English mixed with Spanish and a tiny bit of German. I'm in the process of learning Spanish anyway when I got the phone call.
Oh, top man.
So I think that's quite good. That's quite good. That's going to help us out. There's certain key words that he knows that he's got to use, and and obviously Mo will be doing a few anything that sort of gets mixed up. Mo steps in quickly and sort of like sorts it out for us. So we communicate quite well. His English is getting better every day. My Spanish is getting a little bit better, and my German's quite awful at the moment.
Don't worry, keep working on the German. Now, Gary, you've been busy this end because I know you've been working, hard alongside Adam in that gym with different fighters. I'm always seeing pictures of you taking David Price or X, Y, and Z on the pads. And obviously, you work closely with Dion. You work closely with
and
Joey.
Andy Lee as well.
Andy Lee, Joey Taylor. So what's happened in your absence? Has Adam just been taking over? Have you taken any of them out there to Germany with you?
No, well, Dion's going to come out, hopefully. Joey's not been... Unfortunately, Joey's just been really, he's just been really injury-prone at the moment. If he was a footballer, I think they'd sign him off. But unfortunately, Joey's been out with a few injuries. He's working his way back in.
Good.
I'm not too sure where we're going to be when I get back, but hopefully he'll be at a position where he can come and train, and if things work out with Jack, then obviously I'll have him out here as well.
Good.
So it'd be more than likely Joey and Dion coming out to Germany. More than likely, okay.
And Gary, you're always going to say you are happy with what you've seen with Jack, but are you a little bit more happy than you expected to be? Let's put it that way.
I think that what I teach him, I'm happy with what he learns in the gym, but I think if I'm realistically, I've only had 3 weeks with him, and to ask him after 15 years of just being a natural talent and basically getting by and doing what he's been doing on his own sort of thing, it's going to be difficult to see that in this first fight. But I'm hoping to see, certain little things I'm hoping to see, and then hopefully we can progress. But realistically, what can you do in 3 weeks with a fighter that's had he's had a good level of trainers. I just think the problem with Jack is that he's never stayed with any one of those for any long time, enough to bed in what they need to implement into him for him to get to the next level. So I'm hoping that both of us have a lot of patience in this camp and camps forward from this, and we'll get him to progress and pick up things. But initially, for the fight on Saturday, we've just been working on real going back to basics. Going back to basics.
You know what I like about that answer, Gary? An American would have said, yeah, you're going to see a different fighter who's going to come out doing that. You told the truth. Gary, the Americans are terrible like that. They do it with anybody. Honestly, they do it with anybody.
He's going to be a superstar.
This Lomachenko's a bomb.
That Lomachenko, he don't know crap about boxing.
He's crap. Lomachenko, I would take Lomachenko. I'll make him a fighter. You know the stuff. Anyway, Gary, what I need you to do, Gary, what I need you to do, if he wins, he will win, any chance of getting you on the sofa next Monday?
Yeah, of course, I would love to do that. That'd be great. That'd be great.
Gary, as they say in Germany, Auf Wiedersehen, pet. See you next week.
Yeah, I'll see you later, mate. Bye.
Gary Logan talking to me a bit earlier, and just to say, if you only just turned in, woke up, and this is being shown at 4 in the morning, you're in a drunken stupor, and you saw me screaming at the camera that Lomachenko is a bum. That was like a spoof. That was like a bit of role play that Gary and I were doing. I don't think Lomachenko's a bum. I really don't. Just want to let you know. Now, if I'm not mistaken, earlier on, false dawn, I said that we'd lost Steve Lillis. I I do believe that we are going to get him back at some point. We will get him at some point tonight. I'm going to stick with Jack Culcay, Barry, because the jury was out earlier on in the summer when he lost, or earlier this year when he lost, but then he looked a lot better when he won. But we have to remember with Jack, and I'll just give you the stats and the figures if I can, Barry. I think he's about 28 years of age or something. Yeah, 28 years of age. Well, I've got some notes somewhere. He's 28 years of age. Okay, he's got a silver medal in the Europeans in Liverpool. Okay, he got a gold medal in Milan. Okay, he lost to Andrade in 2007 at the Worlds in Chicago. Andrade went on to win. He's been at the Olympics. I don't know how many amateur fights he's had. Someone out there might, and if you do, send it to me at Big Daddy Bunce on Twitter. He's probably had 250 amateur fights. Probably only lost a handful of them. As a pro, and Gary's right, he needs to move on. But more than that, he needs to start impressing. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely. No, even when he got the rematch and he got the revenge in his last fight,
which he needed.
For me, he didn't look great. I still think he didn't look great. I think he's looked good in times. Even when he boxed Mark Thompson, that was a dubious stoppage there. He was winning, but he doesn't look supersonic. He looks too small for me, for the weight.
Or you think he could be? If he was welter, all those achievements were achieved at welter.
He looks more like a welterweight for me. I think he's struggling with big light middleweights, and even though he got loads of talent, he does need someone to get more out of him. I think more lateral movement from him, most definitely.
Now you knew Gary, Jim. Obviously, you knew him when he was an amateur. You knew him when he was an early pro. Now he's been working with fighters, including Joey Taylor, one of George's friends who we talked about there. Have you had any offers to go overseas and work in gyms, work with fighters overseas?
Yeah, over the years, I've travelled the world, both as a fighter and as a trainer, and worked like in New York, and worked particularly in New York because of the people we got to know out there, and yeah, going also as a professional going out to Floyd Mayweather through the contact of Cornelius Sposer Edwards, who I used to train with as an amateur myself. So, and I'm always in contact with people from overseas through different fights, and you meet different things. And there's always different things with regards to going to certain places for the right time. That sounds so true. If the mountain won't come to Mohammed, Mohammed will go to the mountain.
To it, yeah.
And I've worked off that philosophy, and I've had some great results over the years with Danny Williams in particular.
Yeah, of course.
I remember going and letting him spar with Ray Mercer and people like that in America. Scott Welch, another one, who went on and achieve things, boxing for world titles and do things. And
so certainly working overseas does indeed work. This weekend we are back in America. We will be in Texas. I'm not sure how many people are going to be there. There were 48,000 for Canelo against Trout in this same arena. Adrian Broner, talk about Marmite. He is Adrian the Marmite Broner. And it's him in with Marcus Maidana. Any low hands, and Maidana will expose them. That's the WBA World Welterweight title. On the same build, bizarrely, there's the WBA World Welterweight Interim title. Hey, I don't invent these things. I have no say over them. They've moved the WBA from Caracas to somewhere else, I think Puerto Rico. But I preferred the WBA because they're crazy when they were in Venezuela in Caracas, if you don't mind me saying so. Now, Adrian Broner is not the easiest person to interview, okay? He doesn't do things in a straight A, B and C route. So if I was interviewing him, I'd probably send Barry to see him. So when the Americans wanted to interview him, they sent Roy Jones. It's Roy Jones Jr. and it's Adrian Broner, the problem.
I read somewhere you had over 300 amateur fights. Is that true?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
300?
See, in Cincinnati, we had a very good amateur organization with Buddy LaRosa. And we used to always fight almost every week.
Right. So how old were you when you had your first amateur fight?
8.
8? Cool.
See, I was schooled by the older dudes. If you had it and I didn't have it, I had to have it. I need that. Hey, nice hoodie, bruh. Let me get that.
Right now?
Right now, homie. I need it all. I wasn't knee deep. I was shoulder deep in the game, you know, I had to swim my way out. And I did, and I made it. You know, I've been in with the Sharks, the Piranhas, and I made it out. And now I'm on HBO.
What are your thoughts about what you just did?
I got the fastest feet in the game, Max. I should be on Dancing with the Stars.
A lot of people have been blessed with talent, and sometimes they feel they don't have to work as hard as the other people who wasn't blessed with the talent that they have. I know I'm blessed with the God-given talent, and every day I go in that gym, I work so hard.
So tell us about your brothers and sisters. How many you got?
Whew. Yeah. I honestly, I don't even think I met all my brothers and sisters. I mean, you know, I got 5 from my mom, and my dad, he was a rolling stone. Right. My dad, he amazing. You know, it don't matter what position I was always in, he was always on my side. I had a very good support system. My mom and dad, they've been with me the whole way, and they still with me now.
Are you married, girlfriend?
Oh, yep. I got a new boo. Yep, new thing, boo thing.
What makes Adrian tick timid?
My kids. I mean, you know, they have to have the life that I never had. I remember you saying this once in one of your interviews. I mean, it could have been one of your songs, I don't know. But you said, it ain't that I ain't fight nobody, I just make them look like
nobody. Y'all must have forgot.
Yep,
You
see?
right there.
Yep.
Does like nervousness ever enter your mind?
Nah, see, because this is what I do.
Right.
This is home for me. I can just lose my house, I could just lose everything, but when I get in a boxing outfit, some gloves, everything just go away. This is like a drug that I'm addicted to and I can't get off of. At 13, I told my mom I'd be world champion one day, and she was like, write it down.
He came from adversity, and now he's on top of the world, and that's a good story.
Every boxer on the other side of that ring is only one punch from a knockout.
Do you ever foresee a day where you might lose a fight?
I work too hard, man. I can't have that.
Yes, he came from adversity and now he's on top of the world. That's what Roy Jones said. As I said about Adrian Broner, he's not the problem, he's the Marmite, because he splits and he divides. And what's more, people don't go, nah, I don't care about him. They go, I hate him. Georgie, where stand you on the Adrian Broner debate?
I've always said every boxer has their own agenda, don't they? Like, you'd never see me doing all of that.
Couldn't
you know
do it,
what I mean?
could you?
But I couldn't do it if I tried, mate.
But you couldn't get into some of the sex clubs that he goes to, if you don't mind me saying so, because you're not old enough. But apart from that, so you couldn't do that stuff. Yeah. But so you wouldn't be flushing $100 down a Carsey, would you?
I don't know. Give me £2 million or whatever, and
Yeah,
I'll have a good go at it. But it's, you know what I mean. It's like the way that he does it sometimes it can come across a bit disrespectful. But
yeah.
You know, the thing is, on that video, he just said that he does train hard, so he's not taking it for granted. He is working hard to make sure he's back in his word up.
I'm going to ask you this, Jim. You've seen him in some of the pictures recently. He puts on so much more weight than I've seen anybody put on since Ricky Hatton around those weights, to be honest. He really blows up. I'm a bit surprised by that, because I had a feeling he kept himself in good nick. He lets himself go a bit.
This is what I talk about longevity in the sport. Look at Floyd Mayweather. I use Floyd as a perfect example of someone who always stays in shape all year round. Yeah. And you get other fighters, I mean, Floyd's now 36, 37, but he's getting better. Yeah. I know it sounds crazy, but he's getting better. And he's just lived the life, he's chosen to do what he's doing, and he's getting the results. Someone like Broner, he'll have a shorter run, enjoy it while it lasts, because time will run out very quickly.
And it will run out, and he could get very old very quickly. Now, earlier on, I thought we'd paid him off. I thought he'd left to get rid of the engineers that have converted his house, but he is there now. He's still there. Let's have a little chat. Stevie, come back to us.
I'm back, Bunce.
Hey!
I'm missing you.
Steve, let me ask you this. Adrian Broner, you can't deny what he does in the ring, can you?
No, you can't. He polarises the sport, as you say.
Yeah.
You know, look, in the ring, I quite like him. I don't approve anything he does outside the ring, particularly the flushing the $50 bills down the toilet when he's had a mad night out in Florida or whatever during his rap tour with the rappers he went away with. But you know what? He gets people talking about him, and you know, and he's getting bigger and bigger, Steve. And I still won't be shocked that if Floyd Mayweather gets to 49-0, he goes to 50 against Broner. Look, you know they get on, and you know I think he was with him around the Canelo fight in his gym and whatnot. His gym, but you know what? Where there's money, there can be rivalry, and it's a rivalry that you could stretch easily, Steve.
Okay, that was Stevie Lillis there. Steve, it's been a pleasure having you on Sky Pie tonight. It really has. Get those engineers out your house and start relaxing. See if there's a good film out there. Stevie Lillis, thank you very much indeed. Now, Jake Mutlala, baby Jake Mutlala, okay, he won 4 different world titles at 2 different weights. He was called by the chief executive of the Nelson Mandela Foundation a legend. We've lost 2 legends, he said the other day, this guy. And now he came to this country a few times. He had 2 unbelievable fights with Mickey Cantwell. One of them was a 12-round split. The second one was a little bit easier for Baby Jake. And the man he had in the opposite corner that night at the London Arena was, of course, Mickey Cantwell. Mickey, are you there?
I'm here, Stevie. You haven't lost me, mate. I'm here.
So baby Jake's gone. Tell me your memories from sharing the ring with him, especially that first fight at Millwall. What do they call it? The Den. Not the Den. So the London Arena, which is classified as Millwall. It's a London thing.
That's the one, yeah. Obviously, from the first fight, what I remember about him, apart from him being a gentleman and obviously a class operator, my friend Steve Rook, his mum and dad met him 6 days before the fight at the Britannia Hotel in the Docklands there.
Yeah.
And she rang up Steve and she said, "Oh, Stevie, I've met the man, Mickey's fighting for the world title. Oh, he's tiny. He's only got little legs. He was sitting at a store at the bar having an orange juice. He's tiny." Unknown to her, if the little tiny legs got up close, she would have murdered you. But no, in the fight, Steve.
Yeah, go on.
We decided, Jimmy T, we had a plan. Obviously, we had had a great training. I trained the best of my life. Anyway, we had a plan to box him at distance because up close, he would absolutely murder you.
Yeah.
So I remember, anyway, the first 2 rounds went okay. Got into the 3rd round. I went a bit close to him. He had a really good style where he was sliding to you without you realising. But anyway, he rolled me and headbutted me on purpose. But obviously not blatant headbutt, which what we know, but he rolled me. As he headbutted me, he come out, split my eye. As he come out, in his South African voice, he went, "Sorry, Mickey," and started smiling. And that is dead true. That's what, and obviously I had a battle with him, and, it was close. But listen, he was a champion, and he was a deserved winner. But I took him to the wire. But the next fight after it, he went and beat Michael Carvaggio in 9 rounds. So it made my result quite good, in all fairness.
He went out to Las Vegas, fought at top of the bill, Thomas and Mack, in Las Vegas against Michael Carvajal, Olympic silver medalist, world champion, who would go on to win world titles, and stopped him in 9 rounds on cuts.
Yeah.
He probably butted him.
He had a really hard head. But he was a gentleman, and I've got to be honest, on Saturday, I was absolutely shell-shocked, the news of him, obviously, his passing, And it's quite, ironic when, you share a ring with someone like that. But I remember even at press conferences, Steve, he was like, just a gentleman, And you think about how tall he was, 4'10".
4'10", 4'8", some people say. And you were like, Mickey...
4'10", and but he was very clever, and he was brutally very, very strong as well, And you couldn't fight him up close. Well, I couldn't, because he would just walk through you,
He certainly would. Listen, Mickey, it's been a pleasure talking to you briefly, which I suppose is the best way when you're talking about Matt Lala. Mickey Cantwell there, who pushed Matt Lala to a split decision for the WBO light flyweight title. He was 4'10". Some people said he was 4'8". He was genuine friends with Mandela. Mandela was ringside at his last fight in 2002, and he ended up giving Mandela his belt. That's how well he's known. He's a great little fighter. He maximised what he didn't have in height, Jim, didn't he, shot-wise?
I worked in the gym with the guy. He was at Matchroom.
Yeah.
And I remember Franz Van Poufel was there at the time.
Yeah.
And he was a phenomenal fighter. He was an absolutely phenomenal fighter. And it's such sad news to hear that. Yeah. Like,
he actually had 14 world title fights, so it wasn't that way. I mean, he didn't fight on any of your bills, did he, Bal?
No, he never. He was Robbie Regan, I think, was his mandatory for a while, and there was a big talk in Wales, so we all knew all about him because Robbie was the Prince of Wales at the time, in boxing terms. But he's boxed with, hasn't he? Paul Weir, Pat Clinton.
Yeah, he went out. He got done by Dave McCall in his first world title fight. So, baby Jake McLala, who died on Saturday, a truly great fighter. In fact, an iconic South African fighter. It's been. We started slow tonight. We started late tonight. We were 16 minutes late, not 4 hours late. 16 minutes. Don't worry. We pulled it round, as they say in the trade, because we love being live here on Box Nation. Georgie, when are you out next? We're coming towards the end of the show. I haven't asked this question. I thought I'd keep you. I know I told you you're only going to be in for 20 minutes. I lied. When are you out next?
Good job, I like being there.
Yes, you've done. I'm loving you.
It's February the 8th.
And is that back at the Copper Box?
Yeah, back at the Copper Box.
Jimmy, I liked the last time out. I mean, I said to you when I did the ringside interviews, I thought he was a little bit more, a bit more patient, not chasing that last one.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with George is there's a lot of expectation. I mean, the support he's got's incredible. I mean, I've watched him box as an amateur, and now as a professional, it's transcended. And with George, it's a matter of just going through, learning his trade. Yeah. Everyone knows the geography, they know the map. Yeah. Give him the sat-nav and just work his way through slowly, surely, and just gain the experience. And I'm sure he'll be very, very excited to the pro ranks and go and do big things.
I know that's Danny Donchev and he loses a lot of fights, but he's tough. He seemed to take a bit of a shellacking there, Bal. You were impressed during the co-coms, I know you were. I
was really impressed because, especially from the first performance, when you were over-eager in your first fight, which we all are.
Yeah, of course.
But the second fight, it was more controlled. You know, you're an aggressive fighter, so you're always going to be coming forward. You're always going to throw lots of punches, but you were more controlled in it and that, boxed within yourself, and that was good. He took his time, used the jab well. And we spoke about, when you first turn pro, it's like starting your career over again, isn't it? You've had all those amateur fights, you think, people say take your time, and you think, what are you talking about? I know what I'm doing. Yeah. But when you turn pro, it's like day one all over again.
But it's that time. It's the time that can be the problem, Georgie, isn't it? Because you just got to keep going now. You're going to have 7, 8 fights next year, and maybe 5 or 6 the year after, before you start moving. And you have to show a lot of patience, son, don't you?
You do. Like we've always said, me and Jim know. And know the people close to me that as the rounds start going on, that's when I will be a lot better. Do you know what I mean?
Your own,
yeah. Like, I like to fight at a pace, but when you've got longer to do it, you'll start, as I always say, just wear them down, and I'll be taking them out sort of in the second half of the fight.
You can set things up, can you?
Exactly.
Yeah. Start to enjoy yourself a little bit more.
You look good in it. You look good in the second fight.
What I've noticed when I watch boxing is in the longer fights, when they're closer, they don't grab, because obviously you'll get disqualified or whatever. Or in 4 rounds they get away with grabbing you, but as the fights go on, you can start touching the head, touching the body, and all that. You know what I mean?
I mean, the thing is, Jim, it's that thing where you've got to keep him motivated in the gym. You've got to keep him wanting to come to the gym, and at the same time you've got to try and persuade him this 6 rounds matters. It's hard. It's a hard balance.
And the thing with George, like with a lot of guys who turn pro, I do know the map, I know the geography, I know the route. Yeah. And I've seen George making the same mistake as a lot of fighters, as he'll tell himself. After his first pro fight, we said, George, like 10 days off, boom, go and chill. He's back in the gym in a couple of days. Yeah. And George, no,
there's a reason for 10 days off.
After a couple of days, he had to take the time off. So this fight, we ain't seen him, so he's already learnt a lesson that your rest is as important as your training. I always say, you can never work too hard, but you can under rest. You've got to get your rest period. And George already, right from his first fight, he's learnt straight away. He's straight out of the gym, and now he's resting. Yeah. So once you get the balance right, he's got an exciting future.
Okay, you can work it out perfectly next year, George. You can start to get used to it. Georgie Keane, it's been a pleasure having you in. Barry Jones, it's been a pleasure having you in. Jimmy, it's been a pleasure having you in. Didn't get to talk through your career. Jimmy, we'll do it next time. We'll do a special. Maybe we'll do a sit-down. Well, we may have started a little bit later than normal, but we caught up. We had Stevie Lillis on Skype from his room, and he was absolutely fantastic. We looked at all sorts of things. What we didn't discuss is the fact that there were 2 WBA light heavyweight title fights this weekend and 2 WBA welterweight title fights this weekend. Hey, I'll take you through that when we get here on Saturday night. We're on Saturday night, and then we're through the night. Access All Areas comes up at 9 o'clock and it's about Medina and it's about Broner. And you know what? It all seems to be about this little man, Mr. Broner.
This is real life. Roll the cameras.